Hello everyone, I am Aurora CDVA, the VTuber that tries again and again to see how I can fail this time. Tutorials. You hate them, avoid them, or cry when we failed for more than 2 seconds. Now make it an hour and a half. I'm someone that always had a deep hatred for gaming tutorials. They are usually slow, boring, and they could have been an email. But are they really all that bad? After all, they wouldn't have been implemented for so long if they served no purpose. And as a matter of fact, they do. They are your introduction into your gameplay. They let you know what button does what and make sure you at least know the bare minimum in order for you to enjoy the game to its fullest. So, I wanted to study said tutorials, starting a whole new series, the first with a proper beginning and end, and see how good and bad they can really be. And today I want to start this series covering the tutorial from the first Dark Souls game. One little word before we begin. Everything that could have gone wrong in making this video went wrong! So, I recorded my footage normally, as I always do, but the footage wouldn't be recorded without any problems. It was all laggy and whatnot. Initially, I thought it was because the port of Dark Souls for PC is notoriously not well optimized. It was the first port of PC. I will cut from soft a little bit of slack. So I asked a friend of mine to lend me the copy of Dark Souls for PlayStation 4 that he has, so I re-recorded the footage from my PS4. And it came out as shit as well. I tried some other games and apparently Streamlabs, the application I use for recording, for streaming and whatnot, just wouldn't work! That's lovely. So I ended up fixing that problem, and now we're here. After 3 tries of me trying to record the freaking tutorial from Dark Souls, we're finally here. So I hope you enjoy the video. Oh, and by the way, I tried to record the game in English, but Steam refuses to make me change the language of the game. I tried from the properties menu like I found online, I tried fidgeting with the options, I even tried changing the language of Steam itself, and the game just refuses to not be played in any other language other than Italian. So I'm sorry about it, but you'll have to stomach a little bit of Italian on the game. The game starts immediately with a character selector. No notes on how it works or what any of the stuff does in detail. There are some descriptions, sure, but for the majority of the cases, the players are left for their own volition and try stuff to see how it goes. And after a quick expository cutscene, where the world is fucked, there is no hope and everyone is going to die, so basically the local news, we begin our adventure in the cell, without any of the equipment we selected at the selection screen, aside from the gifted items and the armor. And all we have to work with is a single object that we can pick up and a locked door. And the only way to get out is to pick up the key to escape, forcing the players to learn how to pick things up, and, in general, how to interact with the elements of the game. All around the tutorial stage are phrases with gameplay commands to learn what button does what. Completely optional and available whenever the player needs them. And after a little walk through the sewers, there is the bonfire, in the exact center of a courtyard. Impossible to miss. For the moment, it only serves as a respawn point, but later on in the game, it will be able to be used for a whole lot of stuff, and the only direction we can go from there is a church, where we are greeted by the first boss of the game. Our only weapon is pretty much unusable, and does next to nothing in terms of damage, so our only sensible option is to flee away, where we find another bonfire ready to rest upon, and after that a corridor with an archer by the end of it. Trying to dodge it, we can end up in the room with a shield of the class we selected, and after equipping it, we can advance through the corridor without issue, making the archer flee away. And before we confront it once and for all, we can find our weapon. After dispatching the coward, we can advance to see behind some bars in a closed room the rescuer from the cutscene. And how do we reach him? By going forward and triggering an attempted murder, making the wall collapse. This is my favorite element of the tutorial, because this is the game telling you, hey, be always careful of your surroundings. Your presence and actions have a consequence on the world. After talking to our savior, or murdering him, we can obtain one of the core items of the Soulsborne genre, the rechargeable healing items we can replenish when resting at the bonfire, the Estus Flask. After this, we also obtain a key that can unlock a shortcut to the first bonfire we encountered, teaching us of the looping maps that can open up shortcuts to previous points instead of only growing bigger and bigger. And going forward, we can obtain a spellcasting tool if we chose a class that featured it like the Pyromancer. And after some more enemies, we have a bigger enemy with a shield in an optional room, and that enemy gives more souls when defeated, teaching that there are some instances of bigger and stronger enemies that you can confront to obtain neat stuff, or ignore if you don't feel like risking it. And at this point, I have a confession to make. I am an idiot! You see, when you approach the fog gate for the boss, you can read on the writings that when you fall, you can press the attack button for a falling attack. And since you enter from a high balcony, it's pretty intuitive, regardless if you read the note or not, and you can guess what you can pull off and you might as well try. I somehow missed the memo when I first played this game and I never tried it, and learned it when I sucked so bad at the game that I required watching playthroughs to learn how to not suck. Good times. But yeah, after the boss is defeated, you are able to acquire the key to live, and you access the rest of the game, armed with the various pieces of knowledge that the tutorial armed you with. The game does not go out of its way to explain every minute detail in everything of the game. Most of the times, it relies on the players testing things out and learning on their own, from gameplay to the lore, trusting the players to uncover as much of the world they are playing as they desire. But the tutorial stage is not done with the players, because if you manage to defeat the tutorial boss when you first enter its arena, before obtaining any of your gears, by either selecting the firebombs as a starting gift or the chat way, the game gives you an incredibly powerful weapon for you to wield. But its impossibly high requirements make it almost impossible to wield it for a new player, unless that new player knows what they're doing and plan for it. And that's by design, because obtaining this weapon like this is not intended for someone who plays this game for the first time. It's an unintended bonus, and is instead for players who have beaten it. When you beat the final boss Queen, You return at the start of the game, starting a new game cycle where you keep your previously obtained gear and start a new journey where the enemies have become tougher and the players can try to get what they missed for their first round through. But since this time the player has their proper weapons, they can deal with the tutorial boss immediately, instead of running away, obtaining the hammer. And since the stats are now from a completed first run, it's much more probable that said player can use it. Unless their build doesn't use the strength stat altogether, in which case that weapon would not be considered usable either way, making it a little nice secret gift for players to use as they see fit. One quick note that it's unscripted, the game has a failsafe where if the player manages to kill the boss like this before obtaining the proper weapons, then the key to escape the tutorial it's in the hands of Oscar, the NPC. That's to make sure that players do not miss the Estus Fest. Dark Souls may be harsh, but it's not cruel. So, the tutorial of Dark Souls is designed as a dungeon in order to let the players know what they are getting into, letting them learn by example instead of wall of texts, while still offering notes for those in need, letting the players be themselves and awarding them with bonuses if they go beyond their expected pace. Making this, at least in my opinion, the best tutorial present in gaming in general. And at this point, a question may have formed in your mind. Aurores Idio VA. What the fuck are you doing? When doing a video or a series on something, usually creators start from the worst going up towards the best. After all, the brain gets hooked on negativity, so if you get them interested early on, they are probably gonna stick for the long run. So why did I start from what I deem the best tutorial ever made? Why didn't I start with the worst and work my way towards Dark Souls' tutorial? Because of what I said at the beginning of the video. Tutorials have a negative connotation to them, despite being a necessity. Not every game implements the tutorial as their own levels that you can blitz through if you know what you are doing. Dark Souls is the sole exception in it. Not even the other games in the franchise have a tutorial quite as incredible as this first game. After all, lightning doesn't strike 2 times in a row in the same place. Even though the gaming sphere is full of games and full of well-made tutorials, the majority of them feel less like the game is trying to speak to the player in order to have a dialogue and have fun with them, and more like they're talking down to them. No, you cannot play the game until I tell you that up is jump, idiot! I want to make my way downwards. Explore the bit of game design that tutorials can be, making an essential part of a gaming sphere feel like more of a chore instead of an essential part of it. Welcome to the world of tutorials. If you like the show, please like, comment and subscribe. A little bit of support goes a long way.